Maybe one day I'll tell the stories like about like when the feds raided my house and stuff and like what happened. Maybe I'll eventually tell you guys who, you know, my uncle is, but I don't think I will. I could say my Uncle Gus, but because that's not his full name. Like his legal name is not Gus. But yeah, my Uncle Gus was like a real like dude. They like made movies about him and shit. But like I really don't like to like, that's really why I don't like to glorify like the mob life, because I there's such negative aspects to it, and like growing up. My uncle, I'm not even gonna say my uncle's name. Like my uncle, they made a movie about my uncle. I've talked about this shit like years and years ago because I never glorify shit like that. But it's like, now what's the point of talking about shit, because it's just gonna get like picked apart to the millionth degree. It's so stupid. Nobody lives like that anymore. This is shit that was going on in the 80s and the 90s.
And I would be afraid to go
None
to
of your
school. I
business.
didn't want to leave home. I didn't want to leave
I'll
my
give you a
mom.
hint. It's a mob movie, and it's, if I give you the hint, then you're gonna know. But Tony Danza was in it. That's such a like a key to the movie. It's probably the only mob movie that Tony Danza is actually in.
Track that, you're on the hit parade.
Samuel L. Jackson, Ted Levine, and Tony Danza, based on a true story.
I'm going nuts here.
Mob Justice.
And they used to gay bash. It was just one of those things that was out of control at that time. And so what they did is they picked up a 17-year-old and they picked up a 16-year-old. They were young men, prostitutes, and they got them in a vehicle. And what they did is they put them into Farachi's friend's car, took them out to Staten Island. And during the trip there, one of the boys was raped by Gus Farachi, or he orally raped. And this is how twisted this guy was. He was really a twisted dude. And the 17-year-old's name was Stephen Charles. He died. They beat him to death with driftwood. And the 16-year-old name is Thomas Moore, and he was from Brooklyn. And what happened there with Thomas Moore is he only survived because he was in critical condition, but he swam into the middle of the lake, and they didn't want to go in and get him because they thought he was going to die. They beat him so bad, and they left. He survived, luckily for him. And eventually, Farachi got caught for it and went to prison. He was convicted of manslaughter. Why manslaughter is beyond me. I guess he had a good lawyer, and he got sentenced 7 to 21 years. During his time in prison, he met a wise guy, Jerry Chili, and that kind of changed his life.
Prison for manslaughter or something like that. Real tough guy, big guy, steroid freak, big, huge fucking body, arms, and fairly good-looking guy. He went into a little luncheonette in Staten Island where my mother-in-law and father-in-law owned it. And my wife and my sister-in-law would go and help them in the restaurant. One day, when my wife wasn't there, he came in, and he started asking my sister-in-law, "Where's your sister? She looks just like you. They're twins." And my sister-in-law told him, "She's married." And I understand he said, "I don't give a fuck." "Well, maybe you should. She's married to Sammy the Bull." He said, "I don't give a fuck." Now, I don't recall exactly who told me this, but it came back to me. I was a little annoyed at it. Not the part that he liked my wife. That's, man could look at her, she was a good-looking woman, he could like her, I mean. But the point of saying he didn't give a fuck who she was married to, stuff like that, bugged me up a little bit, but I never followed up. I never really did anything. He was a drug dealer, and he was in trouble all over the place. I didn't know him personally. I heard of him. I started asking about him. And the next time I heard about him, he was in a car doing drug deals or something with a black guy. he kind of thought that the questions that he was asking him while they were making deals, he started thinking that this guy may have been an undercover, not cop, but an undercover informant. So they must have had words in the car, and he shot and killed him. He was a cop. He was a DEA agent. There was a confusion with the wires. The backup teams were listening, and it all blanked out for a while. They went over there, and this DEA agent was dead. A massive investigation took place. Agents, FBI agents, were going to the mafia. They were shaking up everything. Clubs, breaking balls with, we want this guy, or whatever they wanted. They were investigating, trying to get him. Now it was out in the paper that he was an undercover agent, and there was this massive investigation. So he was kind of laying low. He had a gun with him all the time, from what I heard. I guess he was ready to have a shootout at the cops, or whatever he was thinking. He had a relationship with the Bonanno family, from what I understand. One day, my wife answered the door, and she said, "Sammy, there's FBI by the door." I went to the door and I says, "What can I do for you?" He said, "Sammy, we want you to tell John Gotti that we want this guy found, and we don't care how." The way they said it, I just had to ask the question, "Are you asking me to kill him?" "Oh, no, Sammy, no, we're not going there. But we don't give a fuck how he's found." "Oh, really?" And about the thing with John Gotti, I'm not a messenger, bro. If you want to talk to John Gotti, go to his house yourself. I'm not going to go to him and tell him that what you want. And they left. This thing really got serious in the neighborhood. They were really pushing on things. And later on, I heard that police did go to John Gotti's house. I'm not sure if he did or didn't. But they were bothering everybody about this. What happened is that there was two brothers, Junior Chili, who was a captain in the Bonanno family, and Jerry Chili, who was a made guy. They must have had some sort of a relationship with this Gus Faraci. And they took him into Manhattan, where Jerry Chili's daughter had an apartment. And they hid him out in there. He told his daughter, "Let the kids stay here. People are looking for him," this, that, and the other thing. And that was a tremendous position that they put themselves in by doing that, with law enforcement, with the mob, with the whole thing. Especially that this guy was a complete fucking lunatic. I mean, this is not the type of people we wanted around us. Some steroid freak, taking drugs, has no respect for anybody, just like he did with me. Sammy the Bull is her husband. I don't give a fuck. He would have gave a fuck if we would have bumped into each other. But like I said, I never pushed the situation. He had sex with Jerry Chili's daughter. After hiding him in there, they found out what happened. And the Bonanno family, Jerry Chili and Junior Chili, were fuming. We're hiding him from the law. We put ourselves in a bad situation both ways. And this is what you do? He not only had sex with her, but he banged her around the apartment a little bit. Maybe they had words or whatever it was. And the Bonanno family now, for that reason. I know there's a lot of reasons. They'll say there was contracts because of he was putting pressure on the mob. Mob didn't want nothing to do with killing him or doing anything with him because of pressure. But this was agreed by the mob. Hit this fucking kid. Take him out. But he knew he fucked up, and he took off out of that Manhattan apartment and was running around the streets with some of his friends. I didn't know his friends. There was one kid that he was friends with, a guy named Joe Boy. Now, he didn't know about any contract or anything, but he knew there was a problem with him. He was his friend. He was packing too. They made an appointment with him in Brooklyn, Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, I believe it was. And at this meeting, they had these two guys, maybe more, were involved in the hit to kill him. I understood that one of the kids, or both, two of the kids, their father was a cop, an NYPD cop, I believe. When they went to this appointment, he showed up with Joe Boy. They started shooting. They hit him. The other guy, Joe Boy, took out a gun. He was shooting at the hit team. They shot him too. He flopped down. They killed Gus Faraci.
So, yeah, my mom's father was a PDF, and not only did he harm his biological child, his daughter. Love you, Huggy. Not only did he, harm his biological child, his daughter, but my grandmother had foster children, girls. He also molested those girls as well.
24 hours later.
But like my mom's dad, they used to call him like Crazy Bobby or some shit. And he was in jail for like killing someone, shooting someone. He was like affiliated too to like Wise Guys. From what my grandmother was telling me.